Hi everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. Today we're going to take a look at the BMW X5. This is the M50i model we're going to be taking a look at today. And I apologize for my shadow being in the shot, but it sure beats having the sun shining in your eyes. These GoPros don't take that very well. So what exactly are we looking at here? Well, it's a mid-size SUV, very luxurious to say the least. Is it the best mid-size luxury high-performance SUV out there? Well, one thing that's interesting, I don't always get to show this kind of thing. Well, it literally is the family SUV. As you can see, a couple of car seats in here. Can show you how those fit into the back seat here. As you can see, they do fit well, so not a problem there. That also means I might not be able to show as many features as I sometimes do in the back seat area, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. A very luxurious, comfortable interior, quite a bit of storage space, and the towing numbers that BMW gives out are actually quite impressive. We'll talk about that shortly. No matter which engine option you go with, you're going to find that both deliver a lot of horsepower. So let's take a look at exactly what we have. For a company that originally started out building airplanes back in the early 1900s up until about 1933, BMW has definitely come a long way with a very nice, elegant look, no matter where you look, whether it's here with the headlights, the very nice turn signal indicators. They actually do have these on BMWs, and for you BMW owners that may not know how to use them, I'm going to show you how. Just a little fun there, got to have a little humor here, that's for sure. And then you've got the air vents right here. Everything is active. You even have the active air curtain. I'm not sure how good of a shot I can give you right there, but you can see through the fender right here. That's going to help to improve gas mileage. Before we open the hood, I want to show something that only a gearhead would appreciate, and that is the fact that you have the hood release right here, and notice it says 2 times. I like the fact that when you do this, let's see if we can do this correctly without getting too much sun in your eyes. We'll try and do this just right, just so I can show you, but you don't have to go looking for a hood latch. I like that. All you have to do is just lift up on the hood. And now that we have the hood open, let's talk a little bit about what you can potentially find here. The 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. Now there are a couple of different versions of this. You can get the 523 horsepower version. It's not hurting for horsepower, that's for sure. Or you can go with the performance version, 600 horsepower. Now, in this case, MPGs are going to come in at 13 miles per gallon city, 18 out on the highway. But if you have this kind of horsepower under the hood, I don't think you're going to be too terribly concerned about MPGs and how much gas you do or do not use. And yes, for those who watch me regularly, you do have the hydraulic struts right here. At the price point of this BMW, you would never expect to have to go looking for a rod to manually put in place to hold up that hood. This is, of course, the X-Drive. It's going to be all-wheel drive, 275/40 tires on the front and 315/35s on the rear. All 4 corners will have 21-inch rims. And a quick look at the remote, and I must say BMW has one of the best looking remotes in the industry. In fact, when you line BMW against their competition, I'd really have to say they have the best looking remote overall. And I'll just swipe my foot underneath to open the hands-free tailgate. What was that impressive number I was talking about earlier? It has to do with towing. BMW says this model will tow up to 7,200 pounds. That's not too bad considering the fact that full-size SUVs such as the Chevrolet Suburban tow only about 7,700 pounds. And what about cargo capacity? Well, you can maximize that by dropping the rear seats, obviously. I can't do that with the 2 car seats right there. We took a look at that earlier, but here are the releases to do that. 56.5 cubic feet is what you will find, a reasonable amount of space to say the very least. And we'll take a quick look at the size of the door bin here in the rear. There is a reasonable amount of space right there for your protein powder shaker to go right there for you bodybuilders out there, and then those protein bars and beef jerky right here. And there is connectivity on the rear of the console right there. Can't really show you that very well, but one thing I can show you well right here is some of the ambient lighting within the interior. You can see that under the passenger seat right there, under the rear portion. Obviously, that's going to be throughout the interior. And on the front doors, you will find, obviously, a larger door bin right there. So, hey, more snacks, larger bottle of protein powder maybe. Yeah, you won't go hungry in the front seat, that's for sure. And you've got your settings for taking care of how you want to set up the seats, seat memory, all that good stuff. And obviously some very nice materials. Obviously, I don't have to tell you, there's a lot of elegance here within the interior of this BMW. Kind of surprised that's not a little bit softer than it actually is, but not a bad thing. Now, one thing that is going to be different here compared to the competition, its main competition, such as the Mercedes-Benz models, you will find all of the functions for the power seats on the side of the seats themselves, as opposed to up there on the door panel. Tell me what you think about that. Where would you prefer that to be, or does it really make a difference? Very comfortable seating. There is bolstering here. I mean, why wouldn't there be? Because you might want to drive your X5 spiritedly. As you can tell, the owner of this one obviously does, based on the radar detector. And just a quick look at the panoramic sunroof. Really the perfect size for the rear seat passengers to enjoy the absolute best view possible. And taking a quick look at the driver's side door, if shotgun has already been called over there with that larger door bin on the passenger side, well, you got one over here too. Maybe you can grab the remote before the driver does and jump in here, and well, maybe you shouldn't do that because you might wind up walking instead. And pretty much the same thing that we saw on the passenger side for the most part. Over here on the driver's side, there is a really nice look. Those are illuminated, kind of hard to tell right now because it is pretty bright out here. A quick look at those racy looking pedals. You even have the dead pedal over there. I like the fact that BMW has a very large dead pedal. I think that's the perfect size in my personal opinion. And the power adjustable tilt and telescopic steering wheel. And I'm going to start this up while you're taking a look at the dashboard so you can see everything come to life. Let's see if we can give you a good look at what happens here. You can see the X5 there on the dashboard, on the instrument cluster. And obviously you've got speed limit sign recognition, quite a bit there. Navigation built in right there as well, which means you're not only going to have it here, you'll have it on the infotainment screen also. Very easy to use. And if you don't like using the touch screen and getting fingerprints on there, well, obviously you've got options down here for doing kind of the same thing without touching the screen. If you're kind of along the lines of Monk and maybe you just don't want to do that, well, you can obviously avoid that problem. I find it easier to use the touch screen, so that's what I'm going to do, just to run through a few things that are here. And we'll go to car right here. Let's see if I can hit that correctly. There we go. And vehicle status. There are going to be some pretty neat things that we can take a look at. Experience modes. Now that is a really neat name. Instead of just driving modes, I think that's pretty cool how you can do that. You can go in here and set things up depending on how you want to set things up. And did you hear that? I hope you could hear that over my voice. But that's something you don't get in all vehicles. And so I like the fact that obviously it's a little bit different than some of the competitors. Let's see what happens on well-being. Might as well let you hear expressive without me talking. I think that really fits. That's just kind of the perfect little music to come in right there. And so obviously we're not going to get anything there. We're going to stay in expressive because that's where the vehicle was originally set to begin with. And here's a quick look at the backup camera. Some people even still ask me occasionally in videos if a vehicle has one if I don't show it. Well, every vehicle is going to have one now. It was mandated in the United States by law to have backup cameras in all vehicles by the year 2020. And you can see what's over here. I don't really have to tell you what all of those things are and what you can do with them. We'll go into settings right here just to take a look at what is here. There is a lot of good functionality here. You can even change the volume of the signals and different functionality. I don't have time to necessarily cover every single little thing. Maybe we could do that in another video if you would like. And your dual zone climate control right here. Obviously you can see that. I do like the way that BMW has set this up. Again, it's different. And if you want to know what your safety features are, there is the button that you will push. That is very nice. You can configure individual. We'll show you exactly what's there. I like the fact that it's just that easy to get to. I'm not going to go in and make any changes, obviously, because I don't want to mess up what the owner has done. But that's what this button is for right here. And pretty simple to figure out what else is here as far as the radio goes down here, air conditioning, and everything up here. And then you do have your wireless charging pad down here, cup holders. And there is the shifter, a rather elegant looking shifter. Several one-touch buttons. Very, very nice, very easy to use. More options on your driving modes here. In fact, let's take a quick look at exactly what happens on the screen when you go through those driving modes. This is what we're going to be driving in later on in our test drive. And as you can see, you have several different options of what you can do with that. Then, if you don't like that, you do have comfort mode. You also have Eco Pro. If you want to drive your X5, well, kind of in snail mode, so to speak, but we're not going to stay there, that's for sure. And then I will move the radar detector out of the way. Something very similar to what the Mercedes-Benz models have, the bomb bay doors. So that's that bombs away. Not a lot we can see in here because obviously this one is not brand new at the dealership, so I can't show you as much as I normally would. But I tell you what I do look forward to showing you is what we do with mounting the camera to that panoramic sunroof and getting out for a test drive. One of the advantages of filming kind of towards dusk as we are today, well, you can have a good view of the heads-up display, better than what I can normally give you because we film earlier in the day, but obviously there is a heads-up display here, and that's what it looks like. Okay, the advantage to shooting the video a little bit later in the day than what we normally do, and I'm trying to get back to doing some more nighttime test drives. Tonight we're at dusk, but we're going to try and do a few more nighttime test drives. I don't think I've done any of those since maybe 2020. I don't know if we did any during the 2021 year, but we're going to try and do a few more of those. But I'm going to tell you what, the advantage here, you know, it's not completely dark obviously, but you can see things a little bit better than you normally can, such as the ambient lighting, the infotainment screen. I'm going to tell you what, I am really impressed with, even at speed, when you drop the hammer on this X5 with all that horsepower and torque at your disposal, boy, it's something else. So we're going to get up here, drive over the railroad tracks, and take a right. Should have a wide open road in front of us, and we can open up this 4.4 liter V8 and have a little fun. Here we go. I think all you need to do is listen to the engine. If anybody's standing outside anywhere around, they were listening to the engine too. Wow, I'm going to tell you what, I really want to slow down a little bit because even at speed, this is so much fun. Here we go, we're going to do it again. Boy, I'm going to tell you what, if the kids are late to soccer practice or whatever the case may be, well, it wouldn't take much to cure that problem. I am very impressed. This is the first model of a BMW SUV that I've gotten out and driven. We did do an X7 a while back, but didn't get to do a test drive with it. I'm going to tell you what, I am very, very impressed. In fact, the owner was telling me when we got to the house earlier to shoot the video, well, he was telling me how fast this is, and so it's one of those situations where I almost want to say, oh, the footage didn't work out, I need to refilm it again, but I won't do that. I'll be good. I'm going to tell you what, the handling is obviously great. I mean, when I compare this to other models that I've driven, I mean, obviously I've done a lot of Mercedes-Benz AMG models, but I'm going to tell you what, you really get a different kind of punch in the gut here. I don't want to sound like I'm putting Mercedes-Benz down by any means. It would actually be nice to do a head-to-head comparison sometime if we ever had the opportunity. And listen to that. Do you hear that sound? I flipped this lever on the the left-hand side of the steering wheel, and the blinkers came on. There's always the joke out there that BMW owners don't use their blinkers. That isn't always really true, but I can tell you right now that this model does have working turn signals. And being that I use mine all the time, well, not a problem. You probably are used to watching me and hearing the sarcastic remarks I make about that kind of stuff. Everything is perfect here. The balance, the way the suspension works, the steering wheel, just the way the steering works, I mean, it's perfect. Nice leather wrapped steering wheel. It is heated. You have kind of a unique place here. I didn't show this earlier when we were looking at the steering wheel. I don't know if you saw it or not, but the button to turn the heated steering wheel on is right here underneath where the horn is located. Kind of a neat place for that, kind of unusual. I think that's better than having to reach somewhere onto the console, but you know what I need to do? Yeah, just kind of had to get that out of my system real quick. It doesn't take any time at all to get up to a reasonable amount of speed. I can understand why the owner has a radar detector here within the interior. You can't own something like this and not enjoy driving it fast. And I'll tell you what, I'm doing a little over the speed limit through the corner right there. I could have gone a lot faster than I did and would have had absolutely no problems. But boy, when you drop the hammer, it's just instant. I mean, I'm going to slow back down again and just, in fact, let's do this. Let's just slow down a good bit and see what we do from about a 30 roll. Wow, that's pretty impressive from the 30 roll. That pushed me back in the seat pretty good. I don't know if you can see that on the video or not, but my goodness. Well, whether we're talking about pros and cons, or if this X5 is the ultimate high-performance, mid-size luxury SUV, I think we've definitely found the pro and answered that question, because I'm going to tell you what, it has everything here. This is just so well balanced and so fun to drive. I don't know what else to say. I think I'm just going to turn the camera off unless you just want to listen, because obviously we're going to get up here to a stop sign here in just a few seconds, and well, I think I'm going to drop the hammer again. I just can't resist. So let's hit the blinker, turn on the blinker. BMW with blinkers on. If there's anybody around, they're probably wondering, somebody must have stolen that BMW because they're using their blinkers. Well, one more time. Here we go. The exhaust note into the interior is fabulous. I don't know what else to say. So I'm going to head back to the house and we'll wrap things up. So tell me down in the comments, do you think that the BMW X5 M50i is the ultimate mid-size luxury, high-performance family SUV? I'm glad I'm only going to shoot this scene one time because I don't want to have to say that much of a mouthful again. I got to say a special thanks to my friends who own this model for being kind enough to loan it to me for the day, and all of you for being kind enough also to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out another of the videos that is on the screen right now, and I will see you there.